We are back playing Limbus Company, and today we are about to board the warp train. And I know this is going to be a good one because a lot of you bring up the warp train and how beautiful this is. So, I'm excited. I hope you are excited too. If you are, hit that like button. I would absolutely appreciate it. And let's see what this final intervallo before Canto 7 is. All right, how did this happen? First, we boarded the warp train to get to our next destination, P-Corp. Got into our fancy first class flash freeze hibernation capsules, and we were supposed to arrive at P-Corp after a quick blink of an eye, but... Oh! Dante, please respond. The first thing I saw when my vision returned was the perplexed look on Faust, who had entered hibernation at the same time as I did. Then I realized that we woke up mid-transit on the warp train, which could only mean that we're now stranded in some lost unknown dimension? Dante, I understand your considerable degree of disorientation, but... What? What the hell happened? First things first, let's rewind and return to the very start of this highly unfavorable situation we find ourselves in. A few days ago. Our next destination is to a warp train, Dante. What? Yep, that's where it all started. There I was, still perplexed by the incidents at T-Corp, with my awful idea of clearing the air by asking Virgilius for our next destination, not knowing the storm that my innocent question would bring. Verily, I must have misheard. I'm quite certain you didn't, Quixote. We are now en route to the T-Corp warp train station. The warp train station must have some conundrum that must be resolved there indeed. A quest that must be swiftly addressed at the station, yes. Did a distortion pop up at one of the warp platforms or something? I see that you are now significantly less disinclined to take on some side jobs, but no. We are boarding the warp train to get to P-Corp, end of story. There's nothing between the lines, so don't try reading into it. It was only natural that the sinners immediately fell into a state of collective dumbfounded shock. None of the sinners have any history of working at W Corp, but we're actually taking that train. Through what vague information we could gather from the identities, we all had some fragmentary knowledge about the terrible secrets of the warp train's operations. I initially considered hiding this information from the rest of the sinners, but since sharing things with everyone and letting them get their 2 cents and usually ended up being pretty helpful, I've been sharing more of these as of late. Though I have very dim, if present at all, recollections from the time during which I wear the identities, it can be determined from the conversational records between the manager and the identities that the mechanisms behind warp trains operations can be deemed as somewhat bizarre and inefficient. Oh yeah, it's that 10-second trip that actually takes a long time, right? And when the train reaches the destination, they just wipe the passengers' memories. I also heard that the passengers get so tired and weary that they start literally ripping and tearing into one another. Sounds like I might finally have a chance to see a masterpiece with my own eyes. Ryoshu is so messed up. Even when the sinners wear the identities through my identity cards, the identities, memories, or beliefs don't bleed into them once it's over and done with. I remember when Faust explained that, due to the risks associated with embracing such influences, there was a filtering process to intentionally block them from reaching the sinners. Interesting. So it's almost like they are wearing a costume in a way. They have the ID on, but they don't become the ID. They can take it off. That's why the sinners could use the identities of some of our worst enemies without getting infected by their philosophies and whatnot. But it also meant that they couldn't retain any new information that each identity had to offer. That's why I keep a record. That's why I keep a record of some things that sound particularly important and sometimes share it with the rest of the sinners. My voice doesn't really carry well past a window, so most of our communications are one-sided, but I had an abundance of W Corp identities, so it wasn't difficult to piece together the truth behind the trains. But, maybe ignorance really is bliss. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't tell the sinners what goes on in these warp trains, which I am so curious about. What is it? The insides, you get torn up or something, and then you're put back together, just like in Willy Wonka, in the Wonka vision. Your alarmed response and possible in compliance have already been accounted for. Lady Faust, then thou hast known this all along? Wherefore hast thou not deigned to tell me of this? Faust has indeed known this all along, and no knowledge is out of Faust's reach. As expected, a solution to your dilemma has already been prepared. I seriously doubt your solution involves not getting on that train. So what is it? The bus. Oh, what about this bus? There's no way this thing fits inside it. Oh yeah, that's actually a really good question, Sinclair. How is Mephi, Karen, and Virgilius going to get there? Don't tell me that we are going to take the train and then they are going to drive there, because that'd be kind of messed up. Karen vetoes too. No one to feed Mephi when Karen's gone. Miss Faust. The rearmost tail cars of warp trains are all freight cars. That is where Mephistopheles will be safely fastened and transported. And the LCB will have the benefit of boarding as first-class passengers. The bus begins to swell with noise again, though in a slightly different air to the alarmed response from earlier. First-class passengers? What, the seats for those pompous toffs? Even on normal trains, you've got those sods whose proudest accomplishment in life is planting their arses in first-class seats, while others are cramming themselves into freight cars because they haven't the cash for even an economy ticket. Hey, don't look at me. I've never been in one of those first-class seats before either. Hoglu? I bet you Hoglu has. I bet you he owns a train station. Isn't the ticket for a single first-class seat like as expensive as 3-4 months' salary of a first-year wing employee? Can our budget really handle getting a ticket for all of us? The company's budget is not a subject that warrants your concern, which we did learn about in the last intervallo when Virgilius told us, don't worry about it, it's covered. I heard first-class passengers get some cool bonus stuff like personalized private capsules or something, don't they? That is the promotional language, yes. They are flash freeze hibernation capsules, to be precise. They have been designed to easily withstand the true amount of time it takes for the warp train to travel from point A to point B. The trip will be over in a blink of an eye for the passengers. The company's regards for our well-being is unfamiliar yet welcome. To be provided such extravagance merely for our comfort, such occurrence is quite seldom. Right? I honestly thought that they were going to slip just the guide and Karen into the first-class seats and ship the rest of us in the economy cars. I thought the same thing. This seems like an unnecessary luxury. Whoa, Otis, you wanna go into the economy seats? Be my guest. They should have saved their budget and given only the executive manager and the loyal advisor access to those seats. Oh, she's talking about herself. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're taking the train to get to our next mission, all right? We have to think about the unique nature of warp trains and prepare ourselves accordingly. Right? I know it's first class and all, but warp trains are just plain creepy. I knew you'd also be worried about. For example, economy passengers are going to have a hard time getting into a first-class car. if they can even attempt to open it. I mean, I'm pretty sure the door I'm pretty sure the door separating the cars is ironclad. Ishmael, who'd been holding that first class promotional pamphlet in her hand for a while, was chattering on with fire in her eyes. I love the fact that Ishmael is the one that reads every single pamphlet of where we are going or what we are doing. It is so funny. We don't even have to lift a finger. We just have to board the train, get into our capsules, shut our eyes, and snooze through the entire ride until all that mess in the other cars blows over. I heard they used to give out commemorative merch back when their finances weren't in the gutter. And, oh, a true adventure is not without its hardships, yet even the most exalted of heroes cannot venture without respite. And, in very rare occasions, the hero may even deign to select a first-class seat to rest in place of a quaint inn. Indeed. Seems like everyone was at least somewhat interested in the fabled first-class seats of warp trains. I could sense that there was a growing consensus among the sinners that even a warp train trip might be acceptable if it meant that they could ride in the first-class seats. I will board the train if I must. Is first-class seating mandatory? I prefer the scenic route. Don't want to miss out on all the fun. Virgilius pretended to not hear Ryoshu's question. She is so messed up, but I love it. I love Ryoshu. She's one of my favorites. Very well. Then I assume that we are all in agreement. Let's go. I have a matter of great import to discuss with thee. What is it? Out with it, lass. Beating around the bush ain't like you. Don Quixote carefully began, almost whispering in a low voice. That is, in the first-class seats, I've heard tell that we must board with our feet freed from our boots. Doth that claim hold water? Oh, come on now. What kind of nonsense gossip is this coming from this time? 'Tis no gossip, forsooth. I have overheard aught from those who have walked past ere today, and when one of them inquired, you know that you gotta go barefoot in first class, right? The other responded with, of course, man. What am I, stupid? Doth the traveler speak true, Ishmael? Don't ask me. I've never been on one of those either. I don't remember seeing anything like that on the pamphlet. Give me a second. I mustn't be separated from Rocinante, not even for a twinkle. I shan't toss Rocinante to the side next to such vulgarities like the ugly shoes of Sir Heathcliff. Oh, you little... I implore thee, O illustrious red gaze, prithee grant me thy permission and allow me to board with Rocinante. I expected Virgilius to answer with his usual exasperated rebuff. Contrary to my expectations, however, he responded in a somewhat serious tone, if tainted by that familiar annoyance. Fine, keep your shoes on. One, why does she want to keep her shoes on? And two, why would you have to take your shoes off? This place is huge. That was my first impression of the warp train station. Oh, so this is... Don Quixote shouted vibrantly, immediately recovered from her previous apprehension of the sheer possibility that she might be separated from Rocinante. So, each nest has one of these massive structures in them? I've got nothing. Oi, know nothing about what they're asking. Heathcliff asked, gesturing toward Marisol with his chin. Every warp train station has been built with a general design philosophy that draws from their respective nests' architectural idiosyncrasies. It can also be said that many critics in relevant fields praise the warp train stations as one of the many cultural cornerstones of the city. I have no idea when it happened, but Heathcliff started treating like Marisol like a walking encyclopedia from time to time. Marisol, young Marisol! Lo? Is that a passenger over yonder? One from the west? Incorrect. Leather-based clothing and metal armor are predominant fashion trends, often visible in the outfits of the Western population. while that individual's cloth-based style is somewhat ubiquitously observed throughout the population of North and South. They are largely considered to be the Eastern fashion trend, rarely seen among the Western. Prithee slow thyself, for I must make a record of thy lectures. What wisdom dost thou have to impart regarding the fashion of the northern region? I have once spied in a magazine that they are garbed in puffy, loose-fitting outfits, understandably so, given to the colder climate of the region. An opportunity for a first-hand observation stands before you. What the? They have 4 hands! Whoa! Oh! 3 seconds of screaming to 1 of utter fascination and 1 of unmitigated frustration. What the shit? You nearly blew out my eardrums! You're the one to talk? Dude, I've got an audible frequency range expansion implant in my eardrums. Holy shit, man. Now get the hell out of my way. You're blocking the walkway like a ragtag band of hicks who's never even seen a warp train before. I mean, he's not wrong. He is not wrong. That's actually way too real. Damn it. I take the train all the way here for an expedition only to lose my target. And now these assholes are trying to blow out my eardrums. Great, just great. I love this. Guys, is it that obvious that we've never been on a warp train before? And the round trip ticket fee came straight out of my damn pocket. Whoa, watch out, big fella. Someone might get seriously hurt if you keep swinging those 4 arms around, each holding a weapon to boot. Prithee, wilt thou stand still for but a moment to satisfy a few inquiries of mine regarding thy outfit? Oh yes, yes, stand in absolute stillness for 5 minutes, and I... Seriously? The fixer with a particularly impressive set of prosthetic arms spent a few minutes venting several of his numerous grievances at us before storming off to a different platform. Ah, indeed, 'tis grand, the city of sundry odd personalities. I'm pretty sure he was thinking the same thing. I guess there really are a lot of people in the city with full body prosthetics. Yeah, that definitely has to make Sinclair a little uncomfy. That's when Virgilius slowly walked up to our group. Well then, we'll rendezvous at the destination. He really isn't going to be coming! What? So, and he's probably taking Karen as well. Huh? Won't the illustrious Red Gaze now ride alongside us? W Corp policy demands that fixers bestowed with a colored title must board a train specially prepared for them instead? Colors literally have their own trains? Oh, are you like riding the first class plus or something? That's a color fixer for you, I guess. Special treatment from the wings no matter where he goes. Karen wants to go back to Mephi. Aw, Mephi'll be lonely. I told you before, Karen. 3 separate times, actually. Each time I bought you one of those candies that people aren't allowed to aboard the freight cars. Then Miss Faust. Yes. Virgilius, after exchanging a knowing look with a nod, and a nod with Faust, escorted the particularly peeved Karen away. Dante, let us proceed this way. We followed Faust's guidance to the entrance of our train car. Damn, look at this. So this is where we stay? I mean, that doesn't look really like first class. I thought it was gonna be like cozy, you know, you could order like a bourbon, have a slice of pizza if you want. Well, I guess it only does take a blink of an eye to get from one place to the other. So I guess you wouldn't be able to eat a pizza or drink a bourbon in that amount of time. Whoa, hey, our colors are starting to come back. Whoa! Hey, these must be the fabled complimentary food and drink of the first class seats. Heck yeah, of course, quality stuff like these gotta be included with that insane pricing. So there is food and drinks. The general response to this room was a surprise at the rows upon rows of expensive looking sizable capsules. Flash freeze hibernation, huh? I guess it literally freezes our bodies in a flash? Faust, are these flash freeze hibernation devices safe? Please elaborate on your exact definition of safe. Why do we need to specify that? These things are supposed to freeze us solid, right? Can we really come back from something like that? A flash freeze hibernation device will put you in a temporary state of death caused by rapid cellular cryopreservation process. However, the rapidity of the process prevents damage to your cells during the phase change. Therefore, in most normal cases, this will not cause any issue. Faust is aware that this model has fully resolved cell membrane breaching issues caused by cryogenic density change or by ice crystal growths of water molecules. Wait, I missed about half of what you said, but your point is that it's safe, right? Yes, as far as Faust is aware. Even if an issue were to arise during the journey, because everyone will be reverted to their states at the beginning of the train trip upon arrival, there won't be any lasting complications from the said problem. Okay, so now even if we were torn apart or something terrible happens, we are just brought back almost from like a checkpoint. You've got some real talent in dragging out something so simple as, yeah, it's safe. So many words, seriously? Indeed, as Faust's talents are not limited to a singular field. That was not actually what he was meaning. Okay, but that still leaves a lot to be worried about. Just as I was wondering, however, I realized that there was something odd about the way she phrased that answer. As far as Faust is aware, are you saying that it could be wrong? As a general rule, Faust does not err. However, Faust is also not a divine being. There are certain information in the world that Faust is yet to have access to. Therefore, while Faust may speak with facts, what is said may not always align with the truth. Okay. They don't call first class for nothing, I guess. P-Corp's way up there in the northernmost corner of the city. But this thing will take us there in a blink of an eye, huh? That's one hell of a time saver. Prepare thyself, Rocinante. Thus begins the long jaunt. Oh, I've been meaning to ask Don Quixote. Do you ever, wash those shoes? Where'd that come from, Rosia? No, I mean, like, think back to when we were inside the whale. Oh! That's actually really nasty. When that whale blew up, we got all kinds of its gross, slimy bits on us. They were on our clothes, our shoes, everything. Yeah. And do you remember how much we had to scrub to get that bloody fish, fleshy gunk out of our clothes? This really isn't something I want to revisit, but yeah. Right. And do you also remember how Don Quixote never took her shoes off once during that whole ordeal? Okay, I guess they do look a bit filthy. I ask thee, dear compatriots, hast thou ever witnessed an errant knight who leaves the side of their beloved steed? Can't say I've ever witnessed a knight before, though. Then thou shalt know. Starting now, behold it, hearken to it, and remember it well. They don't spare us even a moment of quiet, do they? Whoa, have you been on one of these, Otis? I have been treated to premium VIP seats of similar grandiosity back when. This is nothing to fuss over. Otis, who was sitting there and shaking her leg, suddenly asked Faust a question. Hey, you're confident that no accidents ever occurred on one of these first-class cars, yes? In order to prevent cases of unnecessary anxiety and misgivings among the sinners, the history of accidents that has occurred aboard warp trains will not be shared. Okay, that actually is terrifying. Wait, what the? Oh, I think we're leaving soon. This is for warp train PW612 bound for P-Corp. Boarding period is ending soon. The sinners, who were either leisurely enjoying their complimentary snacks or taking a look around the first-class car, suddenly became a lot busier. Then let us hurry and enter our capsules before it is too late. Oh no, why isn't this? The other sinners made it into their capsules, no problem, but I felt like I was the only one who's fumbling. Is it anxiety, Dante? I think so. Initiating warp in 10 minutes. Allow me to assist you. Stand as though you are leaning back, and Faust expertly guided me into the capsule as though she'd done something like this before. then press the button inside the capsule that closed the hatch. Oh, dang, look at everybody. Look at Don Quixote. Oh, she's amazing. Do not worry too much. We will meet again in but a moment, Dante. I thought I heard a brief sigh, but the hatch shut tightly before I could ask her anything. Initiating warp, please confirm that your seatbelts are firmly fastened. The last thing I saw before my capsule began to fill with gas was Faust climbing into her own capsule, opposite of mine. I had no idea then what she really meant by "we will meet again in but a moment." Dante, you must wake up, Dante. But one thing I knew for sure was an inconceivable situation has occurred. That something had seriously gone wrong. Oh no, a murder on the warp train. How does that even happen though? Because if it goes insanely fast in the blink of an eye, then how can a murder happen in between point A to point B? It doesn't make sense. But I guess we're gonna find out. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Tadpales, if you are, don't forget to hit that like button. Wait, they're not awake yet? We're already here? Wow, I guess that wasn't an exaggeration after all. It all really happened in a blink of an eye. As always, Faust was giving me her usual look, which was a complete lack of any emotive expression. Which I suppose is why it didn't immediately register that something had gone awry. No, we are not yet at our destination. Huh? When I finally came to, and after I had some time to digest that odd reply, I looked up at her face once again and realized that her expression was more antsy than usual by a microscopically minuscule degree. So, this train is still running? Yes. Then where are we? I believe we are currently stranded in an unidentified dimension, coordinates unknown. I took a reflexive deep breath from the sheer horror of the numerous implications stuffed into that dryly delivered sentence. When that passed, the first thing that struck my mind was that we were about to suffer the very thing that we were so worried about. I see. But I soon found myself calming down. Yeah, this had to be part of Faust's plan. She probably saw this coming from a mile away. I'm sure she's about to proudly tell me every little detail of her plan that will help us out of this situation. But this is all just part of the plan, right, Faust? That was an unusually long silence from Faust. You were half correct, yet half incorrect. With that, Faust left me to flounder in the chaotic stream of vaguely terrifying information as she began stopping by each capsule to wake the sinners. Oh, we're here already? Man, it really happened in the blink of an... No. Oh, what's this? We're here already? For real? It really happened in the blink of an... No. Well, we're here already? I guess I really was worrying over nothing. No. Oh. No. Yet I have not uttered a single word. Every sinner. There was a brief cheer, a little hurrah about regaining our colors, followed by a flat-toned explanation of our current predicament, which was then followed by a long, loaded silence, which was a sequence of events I had the pleasure of watching play out on about 10 consecutive occasions. Dante, I understand your confusion, however, perhaps an elaboration of our present circumstance is necessary. And that brings us to the present. Let me get this right. This train's still running? And we're drifting through some unknown dimension? Aught about that striketh me as quite dramatic. Most importantly, are you saying that you already knew this would happen, Faust? Yes. Huh? What? What the hell is wrong with you, huh? The sinners each began to voice their anger. Of course, this wasn't the first time Faust and Virgilius intentionally and knowingly omitted certain details about events in our path. Yeah, they do it a lot, actually, and it is quite an annoyance. What are you, insane? It's not like we can just retreat or jump out of that door when stuff hits the fan. Opening the door will result in nearly immediate destruction of the physical body. But hey, Fao, at least you know what to do like you always do. You've got a plan, right? Oh no. Right? Faust, whom I had rarely ever seen at a loss for words, was unusually slow to respond. What's up with her? Lass looks totally out of it today. She gives me a sideways glance. There must be something she can't discuss in front of the sinners. Guys, let's pause for a bit. She said that something inconceivable's happened. The other sinner's anger was completely understandable. It also makes sense that this continued lack of communication was harming our trust in Faust. Yep, absolutely. All right, we're going to go over the situation from the start, okay? But just letting things play out might really turn everyone against Faust, and for good. Besides, I doubt Faust woke us up in the middle of the trip just to spite us. First things first, I gotta get the sinners to calm down. Then I'll ask Faust to tell us what has happened. If there is a problem, we'll figure it out and deal with it as we move along. Tell us what's going on, Faust. All of it. And in a way that we can all understand. Let's hear her out first. Is that okay with you guys? If you say so, I'll go along with it. Fine. I suppose losing my rag rarely ever did anything. Thank you. Then, after some time, the gist of Faust's explanation was as follows. The cause of this issue, as always, involved a certain contract and a unilateral decision from the higher-ups of Limbus Company. W Corp caught wind of Limbus Company's recent distortion contract management promotions and decided to contract us to deal with a mysterious repeated series of incidents suspected to have been caused by a distortion, after multiple failed attempts to resolve it on their own, of course. The distortions themselves likely did not pose a problem for W Corp. Based on the available information, it can be determined that they would have all been neutralized as soon as the train arrived, and any transformed passengers would have been reverted to their human forms. So she is saying that even if a distortion is on the train, it would revert to their human forms, right? But unless a distortion got on the train, then it wouldn't actually revert them to their human form because they entered the train as the distortion, right? The real issue was that the passengers were disappearing. Passengers spirited away? Alas, such is an impossibility aboard these trains, is it not? That is the question for which we must discover the precise cause and effect of. Did W Corp share anything to get us started? That appears to be the most prominent cause of this misunderstanding. She explained that W Corp refused to share anything about the trains because they were concerned about maintaining the secrets of their singularity. Maybe that's exactly why they sought out an upstart business like Limbus Company to deal with this. Now that I think about it, we wouldn't even know where to start if we didn't have access to the information that the identity cards had to offer. Faust produced what appeared to be a key card with W Corp logo on it before continuing with her explanations. However, we were given this master key card that can open and close the hibernation capsules at will. We may return to our respective capsules as soon as the contract is fulfilled and safely complete the rest of the journey as we had planned from the beginning. These bloody wings, every single one of them's been absolutely barmy. I think it's been a bit unkind of them to ask us to finish the puzzle without all the important pieces, right? At least at T-Corp, their chief executive director tagged along as our assistant, not to mention kindly explaining so many new things to us. And that chief executive director, it sounds like Miss Faust was stuck between a rock and a hard place herself. Some sinners grew more receptive after her explanations, albeit with a sigh. I would have appreciated it if you at least gave us a hint. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not like there's someone out here monitoring your every move. and every word right. That is, huh? But not everyone was willing to let this go without saying their piece. Next time, I will take her inputs into account. Doubt it. And that's everything I could do for her. It's an undeniable truth that Faust has disappointed the sinners with what she's done. But she is Faust after all. I'm sure she has backup plans to get us out of this situation. So what's next on our agenda? Yeah, what's done is done, right? Besides, it's not like we're gonna rot away for 1,000 years inside of this metal box. That is something I must first discuss with Dante. Discuss? But discussing things with other people is very unlike Faust. What are we discussing, Faust? We must converse in a lower volume, Dante. Well, why are we whispering? Her secretive attitude only exacerbated my already battered sense of safety. My connection to Gesellschaft, Faust, has been severed. Oh no! So her knowledge of everything in the world is gone. I'm sorry, what? I cannot access Faust's knowledge at the moment. I guess I really was right to be anxious. Oh no. So does that mean the plan is now completely gone? Is that what she is saying to us? Because if so, that's terrifying. Why don't we take a quick break and do a quick 10 poll on the Indicant trial, Rogian? Because, why not, right? Let's see if we can just get her really quick. Just come on, baby. Come on, Rogian, I love you. And I know you wanna stay where you are. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. That's okay. Do we just do singles? Let's do a couple of singles. I feel like we can get her. I feel like we can get her. Come on, Rogian. Is it because I have the La Manche Land? Is that why? Come on, maybe? Here we go, ready? Mother Goose, please. Come here. Wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah. Oh, it didn't work. I thought for sure it would work. Do I have enough? Let's go, one more. Wait, I need to say, Mommy Goose, please come here. Oh, please turn gold. Please turn gold, that'd be sick. No, it didn't. Blade lineage. Salsa. Otis. Hey, all right. We got Otis. I didn't get her. What do you mean you can't? I mean it in the most literal sense. My access to Faust's input and information, which has always been readily available, is completely severed. Oh, what if everything about this situation is something you don't have access to yet, like you said last time? One cannot completely dismiss that possibility, but even that is uncertain. Every answer Faust has given me was always full of confidence and methodical expertise. I don't think she's ever said a sentence that was this full of speculation and doubt. Then, Faust, you are... Yes, at this moment, I am limited to operating only with my knowledge. I cannot discern the cause of this disconnection. More than enough precautions have likely been taken in case of interdimensional travel, but perhaps Faust did not take into account an occasion in which we may have to access an unidentified dimension such as this. Or, even if it was taken into account, this particular dimension may not yet have been subject to cross-observation. If that is not the case, then no, never mind. There was nothing that suggested that my connection to Faust would be lost, not even as we boarded the train. To be honest, this is a rather disagreeable situation for me. All right, for now that changes everything. I recalled the last thing I saw before the hatch on the capsule closed when Faust told me not to worry too much. Okay, this is just a minor setback. Nothing we can't beat, right? We got this. I began to mutter like I was trying to convince myself. As a manager, my job is to calm everyone down and set their sights on the future, just as Faust did for me immediately before the hatch closed. If you're right about why you were disconnected, then that problem will solve itself out once we're off the train. And if we do ever run out of options, I'll just turn the clock and see what happens. Don't stress yourself out too much. We still have a lot to work with. Your knowledge, my, clock, the sinners, and I can feel my confidence taking a hit with every word that came out of my metaphorical mouth. But that seemed to be enough for Faust. She nodded. Understood. And to the sinners, the fact that we are currently confined to a warp train in operation must be a source of enough stress. I believe that sharing Faust's current state with them would add an unnecessary source of tension. What's so wrecking the store ain't gonna do anything? We're all going to bite it once it opens? How many times do I have to tell you that you're not even strong enough to break this door down? A billion years in this box. Yeah, good idea. So what now? Do we have to take a searching sweep around each car or something? In the grand scheme of things, yes. Faust cleared the air with a cough before continuing. By A-Corp standard time scale, approximately 3 days have passed since our departure. Oh, what? As per the contract between Limbus Company and W-Corp, I acquired the master key card placed inside my capsule and adjusted the hatch settings to open automatically in 3 days. 3 days, huh? I feel like I just blinked, and I guess that's hibernation for you. As you were all informed prior to boarding, there's no way for the economy class passengers to enter the first class car. That is why this place has remained untouched. However, cross-referencing my own deductions and W-Corp's rather fragmentary explanations, I can assume that the situation is currently under progress in the economy class cars. The part where they thrash the shit out of one another, tearing their limbs off, all that mess? No, I doubt that. I don't think it gets that bad in just 3 days. Besides, that's supposed to be business as usual for W-Corp, right? There must be something else that's out of the ordinary that they want us to deal with. Precisely. In my opinion, it is... Oh, hold that thought for but a moment. Just as Faust was about to continue, Don Quixote raised her index finger to her lips and signaled her to be quiet. Dost thou hear aught as I do? Scratching, nay, rapping, forsooth, past this gate must be... As Don Quixote kept listening with her ear to the door, an odd expression of half curiosity and half horror appeared on her face. It is possible that there must be... Lady Faust? After that very distressful noise, everyone simultaneously turned their heads to look at Faust, who closed her eyes briefly in thought. Please step aside for a moment, Don Quixote. It would be best if I observed it with my own eyes. With that, she produced the master key card from her pocket and approached the panel installed next to the door. Whoa, hang on a minute. You're going to open the door? I intend to follow your usual flavor of suggestion, Heathcliff. That there are times in which a physical altercation is preferable to detached ruminations. Huh? My suggestion? Well, I ain't going to disagree with you there, but what's gotten into you, lass? After all, how could I deduce anything without seeing it myself? Uh-oh. After a brief mechanical beep. Oh my gosh, what is it? Hideous creature suddenly crashed through the open door and charged wildly in our direction. Oh no, what is it? Is it the passengers? Do the passengers turn into a monster? Is that what happens and then all of a sudden they're back? Oh my gosh. Yo, they look cool. Craving bloodback passenger. Wait, are these blood fiends? Coagulated arm, hard blood, jag. Oh my gosh. I think these guys are blood fiends. Oh, dang. So why would W Corp hire us to take the warp train and figure out what is going on? Because clearly it doesn't have anything to do with the blood fiends. It has to be something more, right? I feel like I need to sneeze. It's literally on, like, in the tip of my nose. What is this? Durante. Oh, this is Dante's special ability is special ability. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna take a drink now. All of this reading. Holy Moses. That is the one issue I had with the previous Intervallo, the killing time, is there was so much reading. And I felt like the pace, a lot of it, I felt could have been shortened. And I wanted a bit more intensity, almost. The villain of the Intervallo looked pretty freaking sweet, but it didn't pay off as much as I was hoping. Originally, I thought that it was going to be, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't done the Intervallo, even though I would imagine every one of you have, but I thought it was going to be, the reveal was going to be Ishmael's friend. Or not Ishmael, Rogia's friend. I can't remember her name, Sonia? But it wasn't. Lady Faust, however similar in appearance they may have been to the passengers. And the reason why I thought that was the moment where the Time Ripper said they call me the Time Saint. I'm like, oh my gosh, the reveal is going to be there, and you're gonna find out that Rogia had nothing to be like thinking about in the sense of what if I went with them. How would my life look? And it would be the reveal like, okay, no, I am where I am supposed to be. That was kind of the reveal that I was hoping, and then it just felt like, oh, I mean, the Time Ripper is cool, but it didn't have that reveal. Like, oh my gosh, like I was hoping for. I still enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoyed it. There was a lot of dialogue to go through, and some of it just felt like too much, but all in all, I enjoy it. I definitely like this one more, though. This one's a lot of fun. Lady Faust, however similar in appearance they may have been to the passengers, verily, 'tis as though they were in complete want of sense, like people politified by the whale. Don Quixote hesitated until the last second to raise her weapon against them. She hung her head mournfully. Normally, Faust would have told her more information about those monsters before the fight began, and she would not have been burdened by the sheer thought of bringing harm to the innocent. Faust began searching the area, closely observing various bodies and the general area for information. You appear particularly inquisitive today, Miss Faust. Huh? Yeah. Aren't you usually the one who has all the answers while we're racking our brains trying to come up with something? The sinners were starting to feel that there is something off about Faust's behavior. They might even soon realize that there's something wrong with Faust. Don Quixote. They are not dead. Huh? Observe closer. The parts are all tethered to one another by something. Are they not? Oh. It appears that the flow of time has ceased in this space. Therefore, it follows that the connections that tether their bodies to life and away from death remain intact. To my relief, Faust managed to correctly figure out what's going on like her usual self, even if it took her slightly longer than it usually does. Hey, what did I say? We got this! Huh? What was that about? Oh, nothing. But I'd forgotten that not all sinners were content with nodding along to whatever information Faust told us. The flow of time has ceased aboard a warp train, is it? Yisong grew pensive. Seeing that, Faust's lips parted for a moment before closing shut. I was starting to get a good read of her expressions. That was an unmistakable look of regret, however short-lived. Howbeit, would it not be more accurate to muse that the flow of time has decelerated to the point where, to the extra-dimensional observer, it has slowed to a stop? What is your perspective regarding this suggestion? Yes, that is the most rational suggestion, Yisong. Did Miss Faust just get something wrong? Wow. Isong sure is a time expert, right? Can you summarize it in easier language now that we're talking about it anyway? Gladly, if you would allow me. Isong began to elaborate with gentle enthusiasm. That was close. To speak in brevity, it can be said that death is not an element aboard this train. And can you maybe speak in a little less brevity? To elaborate. Verily, this one's heart still beats. Don Quixote lowers her head and listens closely to what appeared to be a dismembered torso and shouts with relief. Their state is akin to an unassembled jigsaw puzzle, merely immobilized and separated. Though their corpses has been sundered, the concept of death is at a state of, for all intents and purposes, eternal delay aboard this train. Existence in continuance of moratorium? Moratorium? Force, they are to be tethered upon the thinnest yet tenacious thread of life. I ill understood what hath been said here, yet they are not dead all the same. If their severed parts are all connected, then it can be said that no matter how entangled their bodies become, it is not impossible to eventually gather their parts together to form a single passenger. Thus, naturally, we can determine how and why the profession W Corp cleanup agent has come to be. I see, because someone will have to categorize and reconstruct these puzzles once the journey is over. I see, because someone will have to categorize and reconstruct these puzzles once the journey is over. It's really baffling to me that a job like that even exists. Ever seen a wing that wasn't baffling in every sense of the word? Still, I guess that means that as long as the train arrives at the station, they'll all be put back together like nothing happened. From what I learned through W Corp, identities, their main job was to gather chunks of flesh together to bring them back to their original shapes before they boarded the trains. It's a lot more visceral when I have to look at it in person. Phew, that is quite the auspicious news among ill tidings indeed. It soon clicked in me what Faust was, though with some awkward effort, trying to do as I watched Don Quixote's side with relief. Maybe Faust was trying to cheer Don Quixote up in her own way. The other Faust would not find it even necessary to do something like that. Dante. Huh? What's up? Oh, time to whisper, right? Indeed, I intend to collect further knowledge. Well, if there's anything I can tell you. Faust cast a dark gaze toward the chunks of flesh. Her gaze remained fixed upon them as she whispered. Are they distortions or abnormalities? Oh, yeah. I actually wanted to ask you about that. They weren't humans, that's for sure. For them, I felt the same sensation I felt from monsters. Something inexplicable, an unclear sensation, or an aura. I felt this somewhere before, I'm sure of it, but I couldn't quite pinpoint the source of the sensation. One thing I do know for sure is that the sensation was not the same feeling I got from abnormalities, distortions, or even the Pecatula. If I had to lean one way or the other, I'd say they're closer to distortions. I'm sorry, I don't think they're either of those. Is it difficult to be certain at the moment? Again, I'm not sure how I can explain this, but they're very, very similar to distortions, but also different. If you had to ask, then I'm gonna guess Faust doesn't know. Faust may know, but I, at this moment, have no way of knowing. I feel like I should apologize for that. There is no need, Dante. Though the information you have provided me is rather ambiguous, it has helped me deduce something of worth. And collecting intelligence myself and creating deductions based on sparse information is quite... She paused, holding a bloody, slimy chunk of flesh in her hands. Did she just smile to herself with gore in her hands? Finally, the awakening has begun. Oh my god. She's like, yes, come to the dark side, Faust. After a round of intelligence gathering from Faust, we opened the door to the next cabin, only to be greeted by a loud commotion. Sounds like there are other survivors. Ah, passengers in danger. Worry not, for I have arrived to... Oh my gosh, wait. Is this the one that was on the train? The place? The train place? The rail station? Whoa, whoa, don't come any closer. Who the hell are you guys? A four-armed woman suddenly jumped in our path. She appeared without warning. Val stumbled a little, inadvertently slapped by the figure's swinging arms as she pushed us away. Right, like you gave me any warning before you practically kicked that door open. Would you mind moving that huge sword out of our faces? It's a bit threatening. Threatening? I'm just trying to protect those civilians in this car. Also, is that a bioprosthetic? Must be an old-timer, huh? I thought those things went out of style forever ago. Oh, you want to see what this old-timer's got left in him? Thou art from the north, verily. Thy garb is that of northerners, no? This really ain't the time, lass. Anyways, it looks like we're in the same mess here. Make way for us, yeah? Uh-oh. She seemed to be sizing us up for a moment. Nah, how do I trust you? Got any proof that you ain't bitten? Bitten? I'm not gonna let all my effort protecting this place go to waste. Bitten? The bloody hell are you talking about? Weird, you look completely lost. If you were in one of the economy cars, I'm sure you've seen. Hold on. Are y'all from the first class car? Yeah, we just woke up from our capsules. But none of you look very... I mean, aren't first class seats supposed to be, well, why didn't you say so from the get-go? Name Sasha, multi-crack office rep. With that, she lowered her weapons and allowed us to pass. Have you not left this car for the duration of the ride, Sasha? No, I haven't. We warped over to T-Corp after picking up one of their contracts, but geez, can you believe that this train broke down? Shit, is it even broken? I'm not feeling hungry or sleepy at all. It stinks of some kind of shady bullshit if you ask me. You can feel all that even in a prosthetic body? Man, how could I live without my favorite hobby? Drifting into a sweet nap after a pleasant meal? So I made sure to get high quality parts for them so I can still feel hungry and sleepy. Hasn't something else of note also occurred? You bet your ass did something else of note go down. How distracting. Is it hard for you to speak without being so hyper? Or at least stop swinging your arms around like that? Can't do that, friend. I broke all my prosthetic arms in a fight, so I'm calibrating a new set. Gotta keep swinging them if I want them to sync up with the other parts anytime soon. Anywho, I don't know what the hell's going on, but people started turning into some weird monsters all of a sudden. Haven't a goddamn clue as to who they are. Don't seem like they can understand us either. Good thing my terrain car didn't have a lot of those monsters. I just chopped what monsters there were to pieces and hauled the civilians to this vacant car. 3201 red colors, 3202 red colors. What? You have decided to protect them despite the potential risk that they may transform as well. But of course, 'tis expected duty of any valorous fixer to stand guard in the front lines against evil to protect the weak. I've been keeping a close eye on him for the last 3 days, and so far, 0 transformations. This reminds me of the movie Train to Busan, with all the zombies on a train car. That was such a cool movie. Or even Snowpiercer. I do love movies where it's confined to one place, like a train or an apartment complex. Quarantine. Quarantine was also a zombie film that took place inside of an apartment building that was under quarantine. Super cool. I love these stories that are confined to a small area filled with monsters. It is such a cool, it adds to the intensity. I love it. I'm really enjoying this Intervallo a lot. And I also hope that, me just reading isn't boring. It is very difficult to read and be entertaining. I think, I don't know. I just hope you're enjoying today's video. I will put it that way. Go past this car and you'll see what hell on earth really means. Those monsters are constantly trying to claw their way to the front of the train. So, if you ask me, I'd wager that some shit went down there at one of the train cars in the back, and it spread like wildfire till it reached here. I see. And that's all I can tell you about the situation. So, what's your story? Why do you rich first-class folks suddenly decide to grace us peasants with your presence? Nothing that's happening here could have made it to your swanky first-class cars. So what's your business down here? W Corp has hired us to solve this case. We are Fixers! Indeed, fixers. Faust nodded reluctantly as she affirmed Don Quixote's boisterous declaration. Huh. They got every single one of you a first-class ticket? Your office must be rolling in the dough. Wait a goddamn second. So W Corp already knew that this would happen? But, are you really contracted to a wing? Not sure if I trust you. As you must be well aware yourself, contracts and contract fulfillment are a paramount importance for fixers. With that in mind, please recall that W Corp is one of the most secretive wings of the city. Ah, a non-disclosure agreement, huh? Makes sense. I wouldn't want to deal with those oofy boys either. Anyways, I'm still gonna have to ask for proof that you're actually contracted by W Corp. Oh my gosh. This is the master key card given to us by W Corp. I believe that it can open most doors aboard this train. Faust produced a master key card from her pocket. I guess there isn't any other way for us to prove that we're actually contracted by W Corp. A key card? So you use this to open the path between the first class and the economy class car. Let's see, W Corp logo. Whoa, nice materials. Looks like you're telling the truth. All right, I won't pry. Not like there's any cash in it for me either. So, I guess you gotta go all the way down there for your job, huh? Yes. The fixer finally got out of our way. Then, with one of her free hands pointed toward the opposite door. Well, it's your funeral, ladies and gents. Or your victory lap, if you guys are really that good. Lots of luck to y'all. I thank thee for thy words of courage, Fixer Sasha. I shall trust thee with protection of this fortress. Prithee protect the innocents in my stead. Big sis, are you a fixer? Are you going to save us from the monsters and the cars behind us? Oh my gosh. Look at her eyes. Oh? Just as we were about to reach the other end of the car, a little passenger pulled on Don Quixote's coattails. Aye, forsooth. Whoa, are you a famous fixer? Forsooth, once again, thou mayest know me as profoundly illustrious fixer. Whoa, I want to be a fixer too, just like you. Don't pester the lady. I'm sorry, she's my daughter and... Oh, worry not thyself. 'Tis no bother at all. Thou must dream of becoming a fixer thyself, little squire. Now that little girl's life has changed, just like Don Quixote's. She's gonna turn into another Don Quixote. It is fortunate that someone like yourself is aboard the train. Your presence ensured that child's survival. What you talking about all of a sudden? Come on, no need to keep up appearances between people in the same line of work. I'm just here to collect some sweet emergency contract from each and every one of them. Are you two on something or what? I see. I don't think Don Quixote needs to hear what she just said. Didn't know you could be like that, Faust. Be like, what? You knew there was no way the fixer was actually there to protect them out of pure goodwill, but you decided to go along with Don Quixote's delusions anyway. Am I right? Good move. I was getting worried about what might happen if she started acting out again. You saw the twinkle in her eyes too, right? Don Quixote's always been energetic, but she's especially bouncy today. Eyes? Faust strode towards Sasha with a question. I have one last thing to inquire. It'll be 30K on per inquiry. That is quite an unsound decision to make for someone who claims to be in the same line of work as us. Have you considered the possibility that once our contract is successfully completed, we could include references to a particularly cooperative associate office in our report to W Corp? Whoa, you serious? Well then, let me hear it. Were the eyes of the monsters you faced red by any chance? Sasha paused, her swinging arms for a moment upon hearing that question, appearing to either be in thought or trying to recall something, then answered. I don't know. Those monsters were red all over, but is there something special about their eye color? Well, for one, my prosthetic eye is red. That passenger over there's got red eyes, and... Oh, you there. That lady with the big sword's also got red eyes. What? Is someone out there paying cash for info on red eyes or something? No, well, it was a question of no significance. Faust nodded lightly in her direction, then opened the door to the next car. Whistle. Oh my gosh! Yo, it was just as we had feared. The scene that appeared before us looked like it came straight out of a painting of hell. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding? That was so nasty. Whew, battling in a narrow hallway really takes a lot out of you. Too bad. Making big movements when there's not a lot of room to move around and it takes more energy than you might think, especially for people like us who use longer weapons. These enemies weren't much harder than the ones we'd fought earlier, but it was inevitable that their sheer number would eventually wear down the sinners. What are these things, Faust? Yeah, I've been wondering that too. Why are you so tight-lipped all of a sudden? Those entities are... What do you think those entities are? Huh? Didn't I just ask you the same question? Oh no, are you giving us a chance to come up with our own answers first? Of course, Faust did not confirm or deny his question, but Sinclair was perfectly capable of interpreting her silence in his own fashion. There were some things I learned after fighting them, I think. These monsters aren't mad at us, nor do they want to attack us because we're an obstacle. That's not why they're attacking us. Quite. 'Tis apparent that they hunger for aught, charging at anyone and anything in desperate quest of it. Right, that's strange though. I thought hunger or thirst wasn't a thing aboard these trains. It could be determined from the entity's attack patterns that their offensives were not based on rational thought. The source of this behavior can only be traced back to primal aggressiveness. Yes, and was there anything else? Anything else? Oh yeah. I think they all had red eyes. Their bodies wreathed in blankets of red. I smelled blood, so that's likely what they're made of. Then it must be that red was congealed, nay, crystallized blood. Thank you, all your input has been very helpful. It was my turn to start whispering. What did you learn from that? We are in luck, Dante. I have read upon this subject as a tangent while perusing information regarding our next destination, moments before we boarded the train. And while that will be a useful element in resolving the situation, the sinners have also been a very good source of intelligence when it came to categorizing and identifying important evidence from the available sea of information. Your advice was correct, Dante. You mean you know what to do to blow this case wide open? Nothing can be said with absolute certainty at this moment. However, this will be a good place for us to start. With that, Faust turned around and faced the rest of the sinners. I will now present before you a solution to this predicament. Huh? Is there something else we gotta do other than beating the crap out of whatever's in our way? That will not change, no. However, what I am about to share will give you a better understanding of the purpose behind W Corp's contract and provide us with a possible means of finding the method by which we may complete it. It is very likely that the entity behind the incidents on this train, and by extension, every incident of the same nature that has occurred in previous warp train trips, is a blood fiend. I knew it. Wait, a blood fiend? What's a blood fiend? A blood fiend? What in the name of wings is that? Huh? You of all people haven't heard of blood fiends? Thought you were our team expert on obscure lore. Verily, I have not once heard mention of these blood fiends. Perchance I have let a magazine article slip from my memory? Don Quixote furrowed her brows, genuinely lost. It was as though the very word sounded alien to her. I thought they were just monsters in stories to scare children at night. They're supposed to be afraid of garlic and sunlight, right? Oh, that sounds a bit different from what I've heard. I heard their fear of garlic and sunlight is just a rumor, and what they are really afraid of is water. I have been briefed on the existence of blood fiends in the past, when I served as a commanding officer, and I have seen the dregs that they command. Though my memory isn't very clear, I am quite certain that these monsters here do not resemble what I have seen. I have seen one who called themselves a blood fiend among the ranks of the fingers, but the things that blood fiend commanded were like these rubber textured ones. There's something off about this one. That one didn't spawn these dregs with abandon like this. But aren't you supposed to know this already? Yes, I see that some sinners have encountered blood fiends in the past. A long-winded explanation seems unnecessary. As many of you have stated thus far, the entities we face in this train do not appear to be blood fiends. In a sense, they are dreg-like beings that have failed to become kindreds. They are referred to as blood bags among relevant parties, according to information I am aware of. Not a terrible name. Why would anyone name someone blood bags? As it has been said prior, it is impossible for passengers to disappear aboard warp trains under normal circumstances. Though our reserve of intelligence regarding warp trains or W Corp isn't vast, if incomplete, we could not find a possible exception to the above rule. Within that reserve of intelligence, however, I have discovered that inserting a previously unseen variable into the equation allows for the formulation of a new hypothesis. Wait, you're saying that these blood fiends can completely erase people or passengers from existence? A more accurate descriptor would be to say that they are either dissolved or vaporized. Dissolved. No matter the degree of violence the passengers may indulge in, no matter how severe their wounds may be, the warp trains can revert them to their initial states at the beginning of the journey. Among several interpretations of the word, violence involves cannibalization, of course. However, as the passengers' collective time itself is in moratorium for the duration of the train's operation, digestion is not a biological process that should be active. In other words, even the devoured passengers could be reconstructed. If they are merely stuffed into the digestive tract, then I suppose they could gut the passengers to retrieve the chewed up chunks of other passengers and piece them back together via the vein-like things connecting each individual. However, such is not true for blood bags. Blood bags are, by their nature, obsessed with blood. Their existence hinges on supplying themselves with the blood of their victims. And it is said that they must consume a minuscule amount of blood to maintain their forms. Wait, what? Didn't you just say that digestion's not a thing while we're on the train? If I were to continue my deductions, perhaps consumption of blood for blood fiends and blood bags is a fundamentally different process for our consumption of nutrients for energy. To them, blood is a culmination and entailment of something that forms the self, including but not limited to emotions, ambitions, wealth, purposes of existence. Then it must naturally flow that they can spend their blood at will, which is a process isolated from other biological processes such as digestion. I ain't following even half of that. You exist in moratoria of time at the present moment, Heathcliff, yet your emotions still persist, do they not? Anger, sorrow, and joy? They continue to spark within you. Huh? Well, I suppose they are. Though we cannot tell whether they may be in a state of alteration or whether they remain ensnared in the wheel of creation and destruction, it can be said that emotions, once past, exist not in continuation. The passengers' will to live, the worth of this very existence in which they thrive, do they not all gently atrophy into non-existence, even amidst a ceased time? Miss Faust seeks to illustrate the similarity between how emotions are to ourselves and how blood is to blood fiends. Gotcha. So that's why she said their blood is vaporized, huh? If that's the case, then the very blood that's supposed to bind these chunks of flesh together will also evaporate, which means that they can't be pieced back together. There's no incongruence in that logic. Everyone fell silent for a moment. That was way too much information to process at once. We didn't even know what to make of them either. That was a lot of information, that is for sure. But essentially, they are dead and gone forever. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you would permit me. Isong was the first to break the silence. Could it be said that blood bags are direct creations of blood fiends? If such is the case, then by which method do they... That information is inaccessible at the moment. Faust replies, avoiding Isong's gaze. There isn't anything I can do about this. The sinners will only get more stressed if they find out what's going on with Faust, and that's something we both want to avoid. Inaccessible. Ah, indeed. Now I recall what you have said in the past. This is only a speculation, however. I assume that a form of direct physical contact is needed to turn an individual into a blood bag. If such were not the case, then we, who are likely the greatest obstacles to this entity's goal at the moment, would have been the first ones to be turned. Indeed. In that case, the villain of a blood fiend must be hiding out somewhere aboard this train. Indeed. If we are to believe the words of the fixer from earlier, then there's a high likelihood that the horde is advancing in this direction from the back of the train. In other words, continuing down the train cars will lead us straight to the blood fiend. Very well, I shan't forsake this opportunity to bring peace to the souls of the innocent passengers who have perished by the villain's hands. Dante. It seemed that Don Quixote was now invigorated. The other sinners also seemed satisfied now that we had a clearer sight of our goal. Faust, who stood amidst them, nodded in my direction. Well then, let's go. We're making the best of what's available to us at the moment. Let's move forward for now. I mean, I gotta be honest, Dante and Faust are actually handling this situation pretty good. The fact that Faust doesn't have the information available to her, and now she is really relying on the other sinners to kind of piece everything together, which is really cool to see. I like that, and it really does show that when the sinners work together, they can actually, you know, make their own deductions and figure things out and not have to lean so heavily on Faust's, you know, access to knowledge of all things, which is pretty cool. Like, they just figured all of that out, putting their heads together, and it was pretty, I like that a lot. Manager Esquire, halt! Behold, this poor fellow, he still lives! Don Quixote, her round eyes wide open, began sprinting somewhere. No, stay away from me, you monsters! Hey man, we're not those monsters, you alright? Huh? That arm. You're starting to mutate too, aren't you? You must be turning into some bud-like monster! Ah! What? No, this is... Gregor stumbled for words before chuckling and casting his gaze toward the floor in disbelief. Yeah, well, no surprise there, I guess. I suppose there's no way to tell right away whether this arm's a monster, a prosthetic, or whatnot. It is possible that you are mistaken due to his bioprosthetic being of an older, outdated make that is now rarely seen in the city. Ah, a prosthetic. That's a relief. I thought those crazy bastards were trying to break in again. As you can see, my legs are messed up. I had no choice but to hide in here. So, what are the W Corp employees doing aboard this train? Huh? You're right. From what we found out about the warp trains through the identities, I can't imagine why any of them would ever willingly board this train. You're the contract fixers, right? We were ordered to assist you with your contract. I said we, but I'm the only one left. Every single one of my colleagues suddenly began losing their minds in that car over there. And this cannot be. Faust, is there truly no way to cure the blood bags? My apologies. The access to that information is prohibited at this moment as well. Though her voice and expression were both as serene as always, there was something gloomy about the way she said it. I may have been too reliant on Faust in too many places. Yep, exactly. I was just talking about that. Faust muttered in a barely audible volume. I don't know what I could do to help the sinners in a situation like this either. I'd also grown too used to Faust's omniscience, because I could always trust it to be there for me. I was starting to realize that I don't have the means to dig myself out of a hole like this. No, maybe I was too reliant on the sinners as a whole. If, when the time comes for them to depend on me, when they can no longer stand on their own, can I really manage them? Lead them to the right answers? Doubt, colored with fear, begins to rise like an ominous plume of smoke. Well, what can I do, right? The agent struggled to some corner of the room with his wounded leg and pulled on a lever. He made good use of the space, and the wall behind what had initially appeared to be a folding chair for employees spun open. What in the name of wings is this? Perchance thou hast hidden here a weapon most powerful, a weapon most feared by the blood fiends? That held some resemblance to a caps. Oh, dang it. That holds some resemblance to a capsule we saw on the first class car, but why would that thing be here? The cleanup agent slumped into the pod that appeared in the wall. Ooh, finally. What is it that thou seekest to do? W Corp prepared a small hibernation pod for employees in case of these emergencies. Verily, then, huh? Good luck with the rest of your mission. With that, he settled into the capsule and shut the hatch behind him. When the door covering the pod closed, only the folding chair and the wall covered with viscera remained. And he's gone. There he goes. He has departed the scene. We blankly stared at the wall the agent disappeared into. Well then, I guess we gotta... Let's move on to the next car. Keep on keeping on. Excuse me, what is this? A blood bag prosthetic fixer. Oh no! Oh no, the fixer turned into a blood bag. Oh, dang, that is no good. You know what I was thinking too? What if the employee that was injured and went into the capsule, what if he turns into a blood bag in there? But I guess once we reach our destination, he'll go back to the way he was. But I was like, you know what if he was bitten and he went into the capsule and then he changes, unless it's an instant change. Very interesting. Oh, there's two fixers. What the? So you're telling me that there are multiple fixers that tried to take out these blood bags and clearly failed. Very interesting. We are getting close to the end here, so I'm interested to see on who this blood fiend is and what is the overall goal, because they can't be just like collecting blood, right? Or I mean, they're called blood bags, so what are the chances like they store blood within their body? I don't know. This is interesting, but I'm excited to find out, man. Super cool intervallo. I am invested. I'm also very excited for Kanto 7. I can't wait to start that. The whole vibe of Kanto 7. It looks almost like circus-like, which I love. Old circuses, you know, where there were just these traveling performers that would go around the country, set up a tent in the middle of a field. It is just so creepy. Like that concept to me creeps me out. So we have what looks to be almost like a circus of some sort, maybe, and vampires. I mean, how freaking cool! Just those two things alone, it gets me pumped for Kanto 7, man. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I feel like it's gonna be hard to top Heathcliff's Kanto. Don Quixote is my favorite sinner, so I am wondering if Kanto 7 will be my favorite Kanto, or will Heathcliff's stay my favorite? Because I mean, these Kantos are getting better and better as we go on. But I am curious to see after Kanto 7 which will be my favorite. Am I going to be, very excited that it's Don Quixote's, and of course, like, I love Don Quixote, so her Kanto has to be my favorite. But Heathcliff's Kanto that was phenomenal. Some of the best writing I've seen in games. So it's gonna be hard to top. That is for sure. Comment down below, which Kanto do you like more? Do you like Heathcliff's more or Don Quixote's Kanto more? And obviously no spoilers, please. All of you have been phenomenal with no spoilers my entire playthrough, and I cannot thank you enough for that. I love going into things blind and experiencing things raw, that way have a real reaction. Something caught my attention from the corner of my eye after another round of brutal combat. What's this now? We were on the final car adjacent to the freight car when we discovered the odd box with the T-Corp logo on it. Ah, 'tis the emblem of T-Corp. It appears that the wall covering it was, in the fierceness of our battle, broken. Didn't that chief executive guy, Hubert, right? Didn't he offhandedly mention something about partnering with other wings? I guess they were in cahoots with W Corp too. Such collaborations are not limited to T Corp. It is oft the case that a wing may work with another. It is only on rare occasions that they urgently request the assistance of less significant, lesser-known corporations such as our own Limbus Company. Their choice appears to be quite irregular. Sounds like W Corp's heydays are long behind them. Just like this wall that's falling apart, revealing what's behind. Oh, speaking of falling apart, this room sure got messed up, huh? It was difficult for me to ignore how Erosia hurriedly swerved to a different subject as though she'd made a mistake. Even the tone of her voice shifted like she was catching herself. But my question is, what is inside of that box though? Right? The various destroyed prosthetic parts covered in human remains indicate that this train car was boarded by several prosthetic equipped fixers. I can't think about that right now. Let's deal with the task at hand first. Maybe these two are from the same office as that guy we met at the platform. Remember? He said he was warped over to T-Corp on an expedition. Look, it's almost like they're all wearing standardized sets of prosthetics. Same make, same model, everything. I believe I have read articles stating that certain offices do exclusively hire fixers with prosthetics. Wait, We were walking through the bloodied train car when we suddenly heard Sinclair's voice crack as though he saw something awful. He is the one we encountered at the platform. Oh no! This is the fixer who suddenly started venting at us. Yeah, and he said something about going to T-Corp on an expedition and failing. They brought a whole train car full of fixers for this contract. I guess he wasn't exaggerating by calling it an expedition. There are over a dozen broken arms strewn about. They must have fought valiantly by replacing their broken arms with backup arms perchance. Quite the strategy. Makes sense. That would explain all those broken prosthetic arms and legs in this car. Executive Manager, this is likely an aftermath of a battle between the fixers and the blood bags. There were many similar cases during the war. Those using prosthetics would simply let their bodies be destroyed in battle because they considered them to be disposable as long as their wallets would permit. Of course, the blatant lack of self-preservation often led them to early graves. Maybe that's true. I see. There are multiple possible interpretations depending on one's perspective, despite the fact that there is but a single scene. I will remember both of your inputs. That's a good attitude. Employees with attitude like yours often made it to the end of the war. Yes, well, good for them. Faust answers Otis in an uncharacteristically snappy manner. Signs of fatigue were creeping into her pensive expression. You alright, Faust? It was rare to see any actual expression from her. I was starting to get worried. I am physically unharmed, yet yes, I am alright. However, I do not enjoy the circumstance which we find ourselves in. It is as though I am casting nets to nowhere while lost and isolated in a blind sea. I could usually complete these deductions within moments after establishing a few basic cross-references between the accessible information. Her voice was such a whisper for the second part of her sentence that even I could barely hear what she was saying. I know what you mean. Feeling like you're completely lost, obsessively casting net over the black, rippleless lake in desperate hopes that one of them might pull in something we could eat. No way to tell where we are, no way to tell if there's even anything to eat under that glassy water surface. Grasping at straws, you know? The sense I find mired in is not unlike your own. It is like lying on my back over an unseen grave, for the reflection of radiance upon my eyes and the sanguine scent hanging from the tip of my olfactory tells me not of the forging path. It seemed that Ishmael and Song picked up on the first part of her sentence, however. They walked up to her and shared a few words of consolation. By the way, I don't ever recall you talking like that, Faust. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something different about you today, somehow. That is... Oh, I mean, I don't hate it. I'm actually glad to learn that you had a softer side. This unseen side of yours is... It is unfamiliar, yet quite fresh. Is that so? Faust's reply was curt. She closed her eyes. As per the information provided by that pamphlet at the platform, it is likely that this train is composed of 12 passenger cars and one freight car. Because we were on the 11th car at the moment, that leaves a single car between us and the freight car in which Mephistopheles is secured. Which means that there is a high likelihood that we will soon encounter the blood fiend responsible for the creation of the blood bags aboard this train. Just beyond that door. Well, how impressive could it be if its fodders are this weak? We practically smashed through their entire horde, no problem. A different, more accurate interpretation would be to say that being capable of commanding a force as large as the blood bags we have defeated should be considered a high-risk entity. Although this is not common knowledge, there is a subcategory of fixers called blood fiend hunters who specialize in, yes, hunting blood fiends. Assuming that the information is true, it can be inferred that blood fiends are difficult foes that require a certain expertise to defeat. Now that I'm thinking about it, if blood bags are like mindless thralls to blood fiends, then they're kind of like their private army, right? A being of power who can create a force of their own without concern for lowered morale or desertion. Wartime or not, they will always make for formidable foes. The sinners each exchange various opinions with one another, possible strategies, estimations of the blood fiend's strength. And all of a sudden, by on this indecisive idleness, our quest is to defeat the villain who hath brought such pain and misery upon this train, is it not? It may be vaporizing the life blood of the innocent as we speak. Mighty or feeble, I care not. I swear upon my honor that I shall smite this foe and let my hand of justice be the judge of their fate. Let us hasten now. Don Quixote's sudden outburst immediately put a stop to the chatter. She's not wrong. Besides, we have to deal with the blood fiend to complete our contract. With that, I open the door leading to the final car of this train. What the? Oh my gosh, they look sick. What is with that look on thy faces? Thou standest in the audience of the prince. Where are thy obsequious smiles? He must be the blood fiend who caused this outbreak. He is our target. Fall to thy knees and grovel before royalty. Who the hell are you to make those demands? I shall impart this upon thee only once, so listen well. Cassetti, thou mayest address me as Prince Cassetti, the sixth kindred, or a kindred of the sixth generation, the rightful prince in refuge from his family. Art thou the villain who hath brought such destruction and massacre upon this vessel? Thou art a chatty one, so rudely before your prince. Yet, I am feeling generous, for I am quite sated at the moment. As thou must have seen on thy journey here, this place is a hall of banquet for a feast most majestic. No matter how many blood bags I create, no matter how much I devour them, the humans just won't stop coming. I only enjoy what was cast into my maw. He dons a mask for the purpose of merrymaking. If we're really going to exchange pleasantries, why don't you take that mask off? Or are you unfamiliar with the basic etiquette? Oh, this mask? Oh my gosh. He looks sick. Won't come off. Can't take it off. Shouldn't take it off. There's no prince without the mask. We're so ugly behind the mask. So we all decided hide how repulsive we've become. But once I've drunk your blood full, then it'll all go back to how it used to be. Only then can I unmask myself. Who stitched that mask to your face skin? Not a half bad job. Of course it's excellent, because this mask was crafted by none other than the great and the eminent barber, Otis, whose name I dare not even speak, but it hurts so much. No, I'm smiling. Look how hard I'm smiling and laughing. Haha. Yes, I'm the prince, that's what I am. He's a bloody loon, innit? All right, done with the giggles then? Get ready for the beating of your life. I enjoy things like you and your friends. Don't cry, bawling and bowing and sniveling on the ground for your lives. Lunge at me instead, The aggression, the boiling blood, oh, how I love the fire. What are you, daft? Look around. There are 13 of us and only one of you. Do not let your guard down, Heathcliff. This entity has managed to turn countless passengers of this train into his blood bags. I ain't letting my guard down, but we blasted through so many blood bags, we couldn't even keep count, didn't we? Couldn't even keep count. Oh, no. But the count is so important. I have to keep count of our visitors. Oh, yes, of course. I do remember to keep count of our dearest visitors. Yes, sir, I do. You have no idea how powerful I am, and I shall not relinquish my throne to thee from this budding kingdom. All I have to do is sit here and do nothing, and the blood bags present themselves before me. There's no paradise like this out there. You have no idea what I did to create this place. Oh, how elated my forebear kindreds would be should they be here to witness what I have created. This cornucopia of abundance, this pleasure. Oh, this freedom. But this kingdom is mine. I made it. I'm not giving it away. Nope. This is rather curious. It appears that this blood fiend leaves this car only on rare occasions. Yeah, we have seen signs of his insidious influence throughout every car we have visited so far. Then what he meant by how the blood bags present themselves before him has to be... Hold on a minute. Sasha! A figure suddenly and frantically charged into this car. It was Sasha, the fixer we ran into in one of the earlier cars. Cassetti shrinks into his throne at the sudden burst, terror apparent in his face. It is thee! By the hast thou truly journeyed here to assist us on our quest? That villain is the blood fiend responsible for the tragedies that have transpired aboard this train. Help us slay that cur and eventually lead the passengers thou hast protected thus far out of this train. Nope, Sasha's bad. Dang it. Blood fiends. What if there were more than a single blood fiend on board, one still capable of rational thought? Damn, you actually made it all the way back here. I guess the wings don't give out contracts to just anyone. I used to fight to my damnness too, till I was the last one standing. What is she talking about? But where did that leave me? In the end, I stood alone with nothing but a single one of these 4 arms left. Kind of funny how the perspective on life can just completely flip when you're really in the shit. I think my last thoughts were, man, I don't want to die. So I fell on my knees and pleaded. I told him that. Don Quixote, watch out! I'd do anything to live. Blood rapidly crystallized around Sasha like a suit of armor as she swung her greatsword at the sinners, striking them even before Faust finished her sentence. What? What did I say? I command you to give me a warning before jumping in like that. Don't you know how loud your stupid arms are? I thought the family had come for me. I'm sorry, Lord Cassetti. Oh my gosh. Allow me to introduce my kindred to thee, to be the first of many since my escape for the kingdom I intend to build. My kindred, my loyal squire, who shall be at my side as I build a dynasty of my own, my family. Lord Cassetti, I had intended to select the more powerful of the bunch to send to this car, as you have commanded me, but The humans in my car were all weaklings, so I present before you this group from the first class car. Kindred, are you even aware of that exact... Are you even aware of the exact nature of a kindred? Nah, but I can tell you this. When I accepted my lord's blood into my veins, it was as though I was reborn. I see. A blood fiend's kindred is like a sub-entity of the blood fiend. Similar in concept to sub-entities created by distortions or abnormalities. It must have been desperation that drove you to accept that proposition without hesitation, despite the lack of relevant information. Maybe. That's probably what was going through my head before I became a kindred. Thou hast been in cohorts with this villain all this time as his lackey? Even ere then, when we first laid our eyes upon thee? Lady, you have no idea how much I freaked out when one of you asked me something about red eyes. Not that it would have mattered if you suspected me though, since my red eye is just a prosthetic. Then, the passengers who were under thy protection. Oh no, the little girl. Haven't I told you that the count matters? The longer the line, the better. Dozens of blood bags began shambling into the room from behind Sasha. A smaller one among them stood out to me. Oh no, I knew it. My mind immediately snapped to the child who grabbed on Quixote's kills. Oh no, I knew that the passengers were dead the moment we realized Sasha was a blood fiend. But this, I really, really hoped that I wouldn't have to face this reality, not like this. There was a child. Yep, little runt wanted to be a fixer if she got to grow up. Good thing she won't though. I can tell you on good authority that living as a blood bag is way better than the drudgery that is the life of a fixer. Believe me, I'd know. Hold thy vile tongue. Dreaming of becoming a famous, respected fixer and enactor of justice? It's all just a stupid pipe dream that always ends in crushing disappointment or a really, really early grave. Silence! Silence! Don Quixote did not give Sasha time to finish her sentence. She was already charging full speed at her with her lance drawn. It is showtime, tadpoles. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Wait, where's Sasha? There's Sasha. There's Sasha. All right, hold up. Dominating. I'm gonna put Heathcliff on his high horse. That way, you know, things are gonna be a little bit easier for us, right? Things are gonna be easier. Take these guys out. Sasha, 434? That's actually surprising. I thought Sasha was gonna be a little bit beefier of an enemy. There's still time. Knock on wood. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. Oh, now the game is gonna be like, so you. Oh. And there it is. There it is. Okay, everybody, yeah, looks good. It looks good. All right. I mean, why does Sasha look so menacing there? What in the world? She's close to a stagger. If we could get a stagger right now, that would be awesome. Come on, sinners, get me a stagger. Yes, she staggered. Beautiful. Let's go, baby. 199. 184. Oh yeah, baby. Oh my gosh. Let's go. 74. She's done. Escaped. Yep. Gah! Unbelievable. My first kindred to be created without their authorization. Is this bumbling fool? I pray for your forgiveness, my parent. Be gone from my sight. At least thou hast brought me blood bags for sustenance. Yet, it must be the responsibility of a parent to clean up the mess of his child. What a load of shit. With that, Cassetti reached out toward the pile of blood bags on the ground and, uh-oh. Fed. So they do feed on, blood bags. Oh, what abundance. I had nearly forgotten this sensation. An armor of hardened blood materialized over the Blood Fiend's body. His sheer aggression and hatred was palpable enough to make our skin crawl. It appears that he has empowered himself by reaping their blood. Though my power is yet to fully return, this magnificent armor is quite befitting of a parade for the prince who hath become a king. Wouldst thou agree? Yes, sir, you do. Of course you do. He looks so cool, though. Oh, my gosh. Challenge me now, O rebels. Challenge thy king. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, everything is looking pretty good, I think. Boom. Boom goes the timeline. Oh, Heathcliff, boy. Oh, boy. You better not lose those. You better not lose those flips. 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 5. There we go. Boom. Good job, Hong Lu. I knew you could do it, buddy boy. I knew you could do it, buddy boy. All right, let's take down Cassetti. This is crazy. Man, this is just a tease of what is to come. I am a little nervous. I am a little nervous. Okay, dominating across the board. I love it. Dominate Cassetti. And yes, for the love of all things Blood Fiends, do not question my win rate. Yes, I win rates. You want to know why? Because it works. And if I need to actually go through and look at the passives and the enemy's attacks because I am losing, then I will. But at this point, it's like dominating across the board using win rate. So why not use that? It would be the same. It's the same thing as auto battling in another game. This is my auto battling. I love it. You're still involved in the combat because you have to make sure that your moves are, dominating favor. Or are they going to be unopposed? Or are they struggling? So there is still, you're still trying to make sure that things look good before you hit go. But there's quite a few of you that always have to question my win rate. I cannot believe you win rate. Well, believe it, because I'm not going to stop win rating. There has been times where win rating has, gotten me the loss, but then I'm like, okay, well, clearly this enemy is stronger than I expected. So let's learn the enemy and defeat them. I mean, the difficulty walls in the game. It's not that I don't know how to play, because I've seen that too. Just you wait. You using that win rate. Just you wait. You're gonna be in a world of pain later on. I've already been in the world of pain using win rate. Trust me. So now I have learned. Okay, there are going to be enemies that I hit that wall, and I need to sit down and put the puzzle piece together. But I like win rating. It's fun. I enjoy it. So just let me play the way I want. If you don't like me using win rate, skip through my combat. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, getting him down close to stagger. Let's go, baby. Oh, man. This one is actually a bit more difficult than I expected. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now I understand why they wanted you to have 12 sinners to go into this battle. We lost a few, but we are about to win, baby. 103. And Result's gonna get the final. No. Ooh, let's go. Yes. Beautiful. It wasn't pretty, but we did it. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Yes, I love your boiling human blood, but this is too painful. This guy keeps regenerating no matter how many times we tear him to pieces. This, I don't know if we can The mental fatigue finally got to Gregor and Sinclair, who collapsed to the ground. The strange environment of warp trains was proving to be a significant help to the Blood Fiend's regenerative ability. The battle continued much longer than our scuffles at the K-Corp, border checkpoint, or our struggles against the endless hordes of the undead at the basement of Wuthering Heights. The sinners had all grown much stronger since then, but they were reaching a breaking point. Don Quixote continues to wildly pummel the Blood Fiend with her lance, breaking, stabbing, and crushing him every time a body part regenerated. I am so hungry. Ridiculous. Thy hunger is no justification for this massacre thou hast wrought. Shut up, you don't understand. You don't know how awful it is to surviving for 200 years on that disgusting, horrible. No, I don't even want to think about it. Shut up, be quiet. No, I'm hungry. I'll be good. Please let me just have a sip. Just the smallest sip, please. It won't matter how many times you stab me. I shan't stop until all of thy flesh and bone and organs are crushed into a viscous, shapeless mush, never to become whole again. But the Blood Fiend's regeneration is so powerful that he's recovering as fast as Don Quixote is destroying him. He's regenerating at an insane rate. We can't. My kindred, my child, I have given thee new life, invited thee to this banquet. So do thy responsibilities. The blessings of a parent must be repaid, no? What can I do? Find their weakness, break their anchor, make them kneel and grovel before me in desperation, just as you had. Wait, I think I've got an idea. Sasha began looking around wildly, surprised by Cassetti's sudden command. Reminds me a lot of the way we prosthetic-using fixers fight. Huh? Just as prosthetic fixers slowly lose their sense of self-preservation, their limbs becoming no more important than tools to be replaced. These idiots act with such abandon, as if they have multiple lives to burn through. With nothing to protect, they throw themselves wildly into battle like moths to a flame, and forget to look after what's really important, like this little thing. With one of her remaining arms, Sasha picked up the master keycard Faust showed her in one of the previous cars. Don Quixote, stop her now. Oh, my parent, I offer this gift to you. Don Quixote immediately leapt at the fixer, but one of her arms struck her away with great force. Ishmael and Marcel, who had been holding Cassetti down, were no match for his strength. Without Don Quixote's fury, the Blood Fiend threw them both to the side and grabbed the key card. This is the key to the first-class cars, my lord. With this, grow your army of bloodbags to bring glory to the kingdom. No. Cassetti examines the master keycard with clear interest. Without that keycard, we'll be trapped inside this train for thousands of years until it reaches its destination. Dante, I believe that I have tried my utmost to overcome this adversity without access to Faust's knowledge and intelligence. However, with our loss of the master keycard, the uncertainty of the circumstance has greatly exacerbated at the origin of this plight. Faust took a deep breath, as if she was about to take a deep dive into the source of all this trouble. Must be my over-reliance on Faust. From what I can tell, Faust has always been operating based on information she received from Faust. So a situation like this, where she has to make her own decisions, where she has to make decisions on her own, has to be unfamiliar to her. But Faust is an admirable sinner, with or without Faust. I've been thinking the same thing about myself, actually. That I might have been relying too much on that perfect Faust. But even without Faust, you still gave us good directions to follow. After analyzing the information we brought you, maybe uncertainty itself doesn't always have to be a problem for us. Remember? Thus the lack of plan itself becomes the plan. You said it yourself. Dang, what a throwback. I see. Indeed, among many, I am a Faust that believes in uncertainty. Our loss of the master key is but one of innumerable uncertain variables in the equation. The constant is, however, that the Blood Fiend is just as desperate as we are. Thus, the only option that remains at present is to compromise. You there! Looks like thou art the one who's been regenerating your friends. Stop doing that, alright? Don't heal a single one of them, or I'll smash your precious key to pieces. Manager Esquire! Compromise? To compromise with a villain is... To compromise with a villain as vile as that cur? I didn't have the time to regenerate Don Quixote's severe injuries just yet, and the rest of the sinners were already unconscious. The only sinner who could still move and talk normally was Faust, whom I just rewound the clock for. Yeah, let's do that. Very well. Then, Cassetti, why don't we move this conversation to a different location? Only I will accompany Dante to this negotiation. I will make my intentions clear now. Dante and I will not attack you there. There's no doubt in my mind that Cassetti must be completely exhausted by the unending barrage of attacks from Don Quixote and the sinners. Faust's suggestion that we move this conversation to a different place without the sinners must have been a sweet one. Just you two, huh? Yes, the freight car is immediately adjacent to this one. That is where we will further discuss what we each have to offer to one another. That clock must be thy monarch then, And thou art one of the retainers. Correct. Very well. This will be a royal debate then. It is only right that a royal talks to no one else but the one who is his equal. Manager Esquire. We'll be back in a minute, Don Quixote. Thus, we left the incapacitated sinners and Don Quixote, who watched on with hollow, despondent eyes as we walked away. We carefully made our way into the freight car. Are we going to feed Cassetti to Mephistopheles? So, Faust, why are we doing this in the freight car again? Dante, this will be my first attempt at a gamble. What? With that, the door closed shut behind us. Oh my gosh. So this passageway leads straight to Mephistopheles? This is where it all started. This stupid bus awoke me from my slumber. If only this bus hadn't completely filled up the freight car, I wasn't planning to start the parade so soon or create a kindred here. Dante. The connection has been restored. Connection? The suddenness of her statement briefly knocked me off my train of thought. I looked at her and cocked my head in confusion, and she replied with an even quieter whisper without looking away from the Blood Fiend. Boarding Mephistopheles has reestablished my connection to Faust. Did you know that this would work? No. And as I have stated before, this was a pure, incalculable gamble based on my own uncertain hypothesis. The success helps me somewhat comprehend Miss Rosia's fascination with gambling. She got a little taste of it. A faint smile appeared on Faust's lips for a moment before fading away. Now that the connection has been reestablished, I would like to make a complaint against the Fausts in the Gesellschaft management regarding the fact that they neglected to list the information pertaining to the loss of connection within the interiors of the warp trains. However, finding a solution to this situation takes precedence. I have much reason to believe that their omission was done on purpose, but I hope such is not the case. Faust gently advanced toward the Blood Fiend. Let us discuss the details of our compromise. What are you willing to accept in return for the Master Keycard? If thou wert just anyone, I would have wished to turn thee all into blood bags and drink every last drop of thy blood, but thou art unlike a common person. My wish is to maintain the secrecy this kingdom of mine for as long as possible, and thine wish is to leave this place, right? Once I relinquish to thee this keycard, and once thou returnest to your first class seats, we'll live here happily ever after like nothing happened. And when the train gets there, you get off the train, everything goes back to the way they're supposed to be. How's that for a deal? Like nothing happened. Faust, what about the job we were contracted to do in the first place? Our memories and any signs of battle will be entirely erased upon our arrival. We will have no way to relay our news, whether one of success or failure. If we had the means to defeat him, then at least W Corp would inform us that our contract was successful after the fact. However, this current scenario will leave us with nothing to show for, not even the smallest hint, and the contract will end in failure. However, what takes precedence over that contract is you and the sinner's psychological stability. It's not like we've always been successful, so that was something I could live with, but what about the other passengers of this train and its future passengers? I remember the look on Don Quixote's face whenever we would come across these inevitable forms of injustice. Faust does not reply. Yet the lack of reply was a reply all on its own. Are we going to have to let them die? Innocent lives will be lost, but we cannot prioritize their lives over our safety. That must be Faust's and the company's policy. And yet, I shan't allow this. Don Quixote. I thought her wounds were too severe for her to even crawl, let alone walk, but with sheer will, she pushed herself through the pain to reach the freight car. I will not tolerate this. We cannot let this vile wretch live and turn a blind eye to everything he's done. It's her again. What? You want to stay here for what is essentially an eternity within this train? I know the truth. Everything hinges on this key, doesn't it? As soon as I break this in half, you'll have to spend the eons inside this. I care not. I would welcome the eons should it mean eons of penance for thee. 'Tis much preferable to letting thy villainy go unanswered. Let this place be the site of thine eternal judgment. Faust and I grabbed Don Quixote. She'd normally be strong enough to wriggle free of our grips, but she'd already pushed herself beyond her limits merely by walking here. Faust, unhand me. Thou mustn't let him live, Manager Esquire. Don Quixote, letting him destroy that key means that you'll be condemning the sinners to 1,000 years of torment. Then I shall fill the millennia with the tales of legend. I had read in the magazines. No time, however infinite, shall be too great to overcome should we endeavor as one. Certainly you are aware that your suggestion is no solution at all, Don Quixote. Then there has to be another way, no? Thou art both possessors of great wisdom, Faust, Manager Esquire. Is there truly no path in which we may bring justice to the villain and the sinners remain unharmed? Her struggle begins to wane, but this was no acceptance. This was dejection. Wait, Don Quixote, no. In the commotion, we failed to notice that the blood fiend had been quietly advancing at us. We let Don Quixote go at the last second, but we were a second too late. Oh, my dearest parent, forgive my transgressions of creating another without thy sanction. Thou shalt become my kindred. Oh my gosh. Cassetti screams incoherently as he leaps onto Don Quixote, piercing her neck with his fangs before we even had the chance to do anything. Oh, I did not expect this to be the solution. Faust, what do you mean, the solution? According to this information I had viewed in the past, and once again just now, it's... Dante, take cover behind me and remain absolutely still. And please do note that the other sinners must never hear a word of what is about to happen. Oh. Don Quixote levitates slightly into the air, the strings on her shoes unraveling as they slip off her feet on their own. She looks on with bewilderment as her running shoes fall to the floor. And... Rocinante. I've always had this question swirling at the unfocused backstage of my mind. Why are you always so protective of those running shoes, Don Quixote? Running shoes? Dost thou speak of our dearest Rocinante? Yeah, those. Have battled through thick and thin, feast and famine with dear Rocinante, in sorrow and in joy, no matter the brutality of trials that hath struck me. It hath been a loyal steed by my side for however it hath been in existence. She doesn't know when she got them? Manager Esquire, wherefore hast thou not saluted Rocinante as well? This may be a rather auspicious occasion to do so. Nope, I think I'm good. Be not so bashful. Go ahead. Go on ahead. Look, Stinky, small girl is torturing TikTok with Stinky. Stinky, they are not scuffed as they may appear. Rocinante is in pristine condition. Also, thou shalt not address me as a small girl. Evacuate, evacuate. Don Quixote, don't tell me you go to sleep wearing those Rocinante. I have always been quite certain that someone so esteemed as the Manager Esquire would care to ask me how Rocinante fares. I didn't mention that this question was inspired by numerous eyewitness reports from other sinners who saw her wandering the halls in her pajamas and wearing Rocinante. Verily, Rocinante and I remain bound together even in slumber. There shall be no separating the two of us. I didn't even think about Don Quixote and her boots. We are bound not by need nor want. We are simply bound together through plight and delight. Now that I think about it, every single identity of Don Quixote was also wearing those pair of running shoes, Rocinante. Have you ever taken them off? Take them off? Fie! Whatever dost thou mean, as in detach Rocinante from my body? 'Tis a very odd insinuation thou makest. She looks at me with puzzled eyes, as though taking those pair of running shoes off was somehow an inconceivable idea. There was something much more than just her favorite pair of running shoes. Her odd attitude of treating something so far removed from common sense as completely ordinary. What does Rocinante mean to Don Quixote? What even is that thing? An overwhelmingly powerful pressure suddenly explodes, radiating in all directions. As the metallic stench of blood suffocates the bus, filling every corner of it with its sickening horror. Then darkness. No, that's impossible. Oh my god. That is sick. Oh my god. In all absorbing darkness, voice is our only light. You are the second kindred. How did you? I should have felt your presence. I do think I saw a faint outline of an aura. I see a red aura and a long for adornment of sorts. Through the shimmering aura I think I saw red eyes. You have committed the sin of filial impiety, transgressor. I know that voice, but I also don't. I've never heard it in such a low, imposing tone before. It speaks toward the lesser being, the blood fiend, shriveled and kneeling, trembling, pathetic. Mercy, O venerated ancestor, I beg for the mercy of the second kindred. I beg for the mercy of the second kindred. I beg. Insolent worm. So, is this being living inside of Don Quixote? Crimson droplets of blood slowly rises around the blood fiend's mouth before congealing and sealing his mouth shut. No language worming its way out of your maw shall be worth my ears. No. To commit the sin of filial impiety by attempting to travel against the bloodstream, to commit such abomination against your ancestor, I cannot well sanction your impotence of continued existence. Oh my. Coagulate, then melt away. Cassetti's body begins liquefying into a slick stream of blood, his form curdling and crumbling, then dripping to the ground, rapidly yet ponderously, like the ice cream Don Quixote loves so much, melting away on the floor, heated under the searing sun. What? You. Don Quixote turned to look at me, who was still on the ground after being thrown by the shockwave, and with a cryptic look of pity, she uttered something. Indeed, you must be the promised timepiece. Something I couldn't quite understand. Rocinante, to me. Rocinante, I beseech you. I carefully reached out, grabbed her shoes, and slipped them onto her bare feet one by one. One day, she gasped, stumbled, and slumped to the ground. So her shoes lock away the being within her? What? Sometime later. Can somebody explain what just happened? In a way that makes sense. I knew that the sinners would all be shocked and confused. After all, when they, including Faust and Don Quixote, all came back to life after I rewound the clock, all that remained was the destroyed door of the freight car and the disgusting obliterated remains of what was once Cassetti. Most personnel had lost their consciousness from the mental stress of the prolonged battle against the Blood Fiend. Whatever measure it was that the manager has taken, it can be said that it was appropriate. I guess so. Well, good work, everyone. However, the definition of most personnel excludes 3 individuals. Therefore, it would be most appropriate to direct any questions to them. Wait. Who are those 3? Faust, the manager, and Don Quixote, who is still unconscious. Really? The 3 of you? Wow, you were spot on. When did you even have the time to notice that? Oh boy. I've identified the 3 conscious individuals by analyzing their walking cadence and voices, moments before my loss of consciousness. Right, so what's going on with the lass? Why is she still out cold? She appears to be in a state of deep slumber, as she is not at risk of death. She will be waking up soon. I remember everything, of course. Don Quixote's sudden transformation, how she practically erased the Blood Fiend and his kindred from the world without even moving a finger. But I also remember Faust's last words. And please do note that the other sinners must never hear a word of what is about to happen. So she knew all along that this being was inside of Don Quixote, which means, after seeing this means that Don Quixote is actually the most powerful sinner? Don Quixote was unconscious, and Faust was answering every question with silence. It was only natural that their eyes would fall to me. That's, Wait, that reminds me. Where's the key card? Last I remember, it was in Cassetti's hands, who was in a far more presentable state than he was in before. Wait, so what about the key card he was holding, though? Huh? It has been half liquefied. The remains have melded with his finger bones. It appears to have become one with the middle phalanges. Wait, oh no. Everyone calm down, calm down. Said calm down! I really should have packed more cigarettes, huh? How about we force one of those doors open? The master keycard is not an absolutely necessary element to resolving the situation. What? How? It will require approximately 5 hours to formulate and process, with an explanation in a manner that will allow the sinners to fully comprehend the exact how of this methodology. Therefore, it will be delivered to you in a digestible, summarized format. Well, that was short-lived. She's acting all smug again. We can utilize the back door of Mephistopheles. The steely confidence in her declaration was more than enough to win us all over. So we headed to the corridor past the back door. Don Quixote slung over one of our shoulders and arrived at our destination. I can't not ask what happened after seeing the state you are all in. Sandy pitter, sandy patter. Grains of sand and seashell-like things fell with every step the sinners took. Ask someone after me. To explicate, grains of sand roll about in my throat with every word spoken. Some time ago, Faust explained the simpler gist of this plan as we made our way to the back door. To put it simply, we will spend the time at a space disconnected from the train. The train should be arriving at its destination in approximately 10 seconds, going by the A-Corp timescale. All we must do is to remain somewhere in our original dimension for that duration. And with that, Faust came to a sudden stop in the middle of one of the corridors. Wait, are you seriously gonna just open the door? With this many doors in here, are you sure that is the right one? Yes, this is the correct door. It's safe. Its safety is completely insured. Lass, at least tell us what's past that door. I did not bother verifying that particular information myself. It is necessary for future endeavors that I gain the experience of encountering something completely unexpected. What? Wait. Faust did not wait for Heathcliff to finish his sentence before jerking the door wide open. Now please enter through this door. With Faust's stern command, we quickly walked into a building that looked like a derelict, abandoned hospital of sorts. I think we walked into the middle of a sandstorm. Huh? Aren't we supposed to be indoors? How the heck is this even happening? I can't open my eyes. Tui, I got sand in my mouth. Wait, no way. Is this a sandstorm? But aren't we inside a building? 543-210. The sinners blurted out a colorful series of complaints, trying to cover themselves in the blasting sandstorm. But Faust continued to count in the same indifferent rhythm before dragging us out of there, just as urgently as she had herded us in. So, we managed to return safe and sound to the interiors of the warp train as it arrived at the P-Corp platforms. As the train was still getting cleaned up, that is. And with our bodies completely covered in sand. Sob, I thought we'd never make it. Whoa, are you guys okay? How do these passengers... We were so happy to be done with this whole ordeal that even the W Corp cleanup agents in the middle of the cleanup mission looked downright hospitable. We are employees of Limbus Company. We boarded the warp train at the behest of your employer. Oh, so you guys are the people that our captain told us about. They really let you guys keep your memories, huh? Oh, that reminds me. One of the employees must be sleeping inside that hibernation pod over there. Oh, that? Huh. I've never seen it in action before. Thanks, let me go check. That hidden compartment behind the chair that the cleanup agent crawled into. Inside it was, huh? There isn't anyone in here. Maybe we're looking at the wrong pod? This is the correct pod. The disappearance of the individual who has entered this pod would indicate. I guess these folks aren't all there in the head either. Maybe you guys are just mistaken. I doubt that. Yes, we must have suffered from a momentary collective hallucination caused by fatigue. Very well then, we will see ourselves out. Faust cut the conversation short before the other sinners began asking too many questions. Now that I became intimately familiar with the meaning of that gesture, I followed her to the outside without another word. We have arrived! Rise and shine, lass. Had enough nap yet? I see. I will hear the details of the incident on the bus once we are traveling again. Understood. Any and all relevant reports will be sent to W Corp via LCCA, and Virgilius was already there when we arrived. He was sharing a conversation with Faust about what went down inside the train with a serious expression. I will now leave with Karen and watch them unfasten Mephistopheles from the train. The minute hand on the manager's head seems to be desperately signaling me that they have a lot of burning questions to ask you. Allow me to give you two some space. I was finally able to ask Faust once Virgilius left. Why did you do that? Faust's body was quite literally blasted to pieces from the sheer explosive pressure that filled the room the moment Don Quixote's shoes came off. It was as though she knew that was going to happen, because it was the preferable course of action to having the same explosive demise occur to your body instead. I do find it regrettable that you were made to turn the clock despite my knowledge of the high likelihood of my death upon that occurrence. No, I'm not blaming you for that. I just want to know how long you've known that Don Quixote is something I have been aware of since the LCB was first established. The same could be said of Virgilius. Of course. However, it was by the will of the LCA's superiors that this knowledge remains withheld from the manager until the appropriate moment. And that appropriate moment was back there? According to my private judgment, yes. Well, as my connection to all communications, including one to Faust, had been severed, I was not in a position to receive the headquarters authorization for that action. Right. Though the full truth may remain obscured, still, we are once again returned. Returned. That was a layered word. We've returned to one of the warp platforms in our own dimension. We've returned to our daily lives of speculating about what's next in our path. And the usual Faust, reconnected to Faust, has returned. Yes, Faust replied to E-Song's nebulous wording with a quiet affirmation. Please do not take this query with any greater import than a mere jest. However, do you suppose I shall see her again? See who again? She shot a puzzled look at E-Song. In a way, it was quite the pleasant encounter, was it not? E-Song mused ambiguously before leaving us. The incident at the warp train was such a chaotic mess that it felt shorter than it really was, but I also learned so much about so many things. But it was too soon to start racking our brains about what kind of nonsense trial we were about to face at P-Corp. So I decided to enjoy this momentary peace. How do we find ourselves at P-Corp? Wherefore is my throat so parched? I'm too tired to explain. Chiquita, you missed out big time on one crazy adventure. That vibrated the last few grains of sand out of my ears. The sinners looked at Don Quixote's bewildered awakening, grinning. Does she not remember? There's no way to know what we'll be facing here at District 16 where P-Corp was located, but we got this, right? The same faith I saw in the Faust who believes in uncertainty rises within me too. I looked up to Faust, only to see that Faust was looking at me as well. She nodded at me with her usual, barely noticeable smile, and I gave her a light nod back in return. Time to go find ourselves another golden bow. Oh my. Dang. What an intervallo, man. That was so good. And with that, we are on to Canto 7. Oh my goodness. This was a long one. This was a long intervallo, but oh my gosh, was it good. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. It was a lot of reading. And I know it could get boring just listening to somebody read, but I hope you were able to find some enjoyment out of today's video. It was a good one. I really liked it. A great introduction to blood bags, blood fiends. The warp train is insane and absolutely terrifying. I never want to see the inside of a warp train while it is moving, but Don Quixote and Rocinante, what a twist. I did not see that one coming. So her shoes must lock away whatever this entity is inside of her, which is insane because of how powerful she is. She literally took down Cassetti on her own easily, which is crazy. And I know for a fact that we will learn more about that being. But that is it for today's video, Tadpales. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. And we are on to Canto 7. I am excited. Thank you all again for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.